So PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's essentially it's a psychological condition that can develop following exposure to a traumatic event. And for some people, the ability to cognitively, emotionally, and even physically process that traumatic event gets disturbed. So in a sense, their mind and their body gets stuck in a traumatized or threatened state where unconsciously they're constantly feeling unsafe.
I got into a very depressed state, a lot of anxiety, the hypervigilance, the hiding behind windows in my own home, looking at places that I could escape if ever we were attacked, those types of things.
Crowds, I don't like going to shopping centres, I don't like mixing with lots of people, and sitting with your back to the wall in a restaurant, losing your temper for no apparent reason.
It's hard to know on a daily basis when they're in a bad place who I'm leaving when I go to work and who I'm going to come home to.
It just got to a point where I actually did get hold of a gun and put it to my head, and fortunately my dog came out and put his head on my knee and stopped me.
Post-traumatic stress disorder does not only occur in the Australian Defence Force and veteran populations. It is estimated that roughly 1 million people, Australian citizens, are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. That's about 1 in 20 of us. We also know that in Vietnam vets, the rates of post-traumatic stress disorder are double the Australian population.
Over 12 months using the latest diagnostic techniques and leading experts from an array of different fields, veterans underwent intensive evaluation from head to toe, 25 tests in all.
So we studied about 300 Vietnam veterans, with about half of them having PTSD and half not, so that allowed us to compare conditions between the two groups. And I guess the headline results really relate to the fact that the veterans with PTSD have a higher rate of sleep problems, they have a higher rate of gastrointestinal problems, they have a higher rate of having a history of heart disease and heart attacks, as well as other problems that would suggest they are more at risk from what we call metabolic syndrome.
We've learned from this study that this is not just a psychological disorder. This is a disorder that impacts the entire body and all of the body systems. And so we are a product of our entire body, not just our brain. So I think it's being able to recognize that in having PTSD, you also have these other physical conditions that need to be taken into consideration. So our aim is to educate the GPs and the allied health professionals and those working with the veteran community to recognize the symptoms, recognize the physical symptoms, and then put all those pieces together to maybe help diagnose and treat PTSD more proactively.
So physical therapy is super important for people who are suffering PTSD and or anxiety because the release of feel-good neurotransmitters, so dopamine and endorphins, which has an effect. So it improves your stress tolerance and it also decreases your pain. So we find a lot of people suffering PTSD and anxiety also have chronic pain. So doing exercise with the release of those neurotransmitters has an effect. Bottom line is living, the physical effort of living becomes a bit easier, which means you have a little bit more energy and focus to look after yourself.